Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is May 7th. Welcome to my channel. All right. Yesterday, what did we do? We gapped lower, right? Sold off a little bit, bounced, sold off, bounced, sold off, right? That was yesterday, right? Trump was talking, percent was talking. So it's doing what this market's been doing, all right? It's just volatile. It's headline risk after headline risk. And we come to today. We got FOMC. We had some important earnings yesterday. AMC, AMD, Disney report, a bunch of other ones reported. We'll get into that. I did have a nice trade yesterday, off the lows in the Qs. Was long around 478.95, I think. Could have rode that higher because there was some kind of thing I think Trump said that ripped the market up to 485 in the Qs. But that's okay. Over two and a over 2 to 1 risk reward. So that I can't complain over that. Can't complain at all. So brings us to welcome to my channel. All right, my name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and most traded price of the year, of the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That is how I look at the markets. All right, that's how I construct data for me to real easily come up with game plans. Okay, I also use my market internals. Okay, market internals are my bread and butter. It sets up my day and it tells me who's in control of the market. Okay, now yesterday, when the market opened, okay, tech was not weak. That's why I got long in the Qs. Okay, and came to that monster level in the ES and the Nasdaq that I talked about yesterday. I said monster level. I said this could be a bear trap. It was. What's worth the risk, and it paid off. So, with that being said, okay, what I just talking about here? I just lost my train of thought. I just lost my train of thought. However, all right, if you do enjoy my content, you can wait to the end, or you can do it now. Smash the like button. All right. Now, every morning I do this. Hopefully, you can join me. I give you the market story, give you the economic calendar, the market news, the leaders and the laggards. We go over daily charts, triple-headed monsters, your dollar, your VIX, and your bond market. And then later on, we go into the ES and the NASDAQ futures analysis. Okay. So I come up with game plans based on how I look at the market. Okay. So hopefully you can join me. Now, I think we're ready for the watch. Let's see what's moving futures today. Let's get into it. All right. Ethereum's up 2.79%. All right. That's what we got going here. Bitcoin's up 2.25. So Bitcoin and Ethereum getting some love. Crude almost at $60 a barrel. I think it was at that point. Dropped a little bit, up 0.85. We did have also India bomb Pakistan, so that's going on too. Russell's up 0.79, Dow's up 0.47, ES up 0.36, Nasdaq's up 0.29, the dollar is up 0.20, 30-year bonds up 0.14, 10-year yield basically flat, VIX down 0.57, that's a 24.62 VIX. And you got gold down 0.63 and silver down 0.65. All right, moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. And we have got our Bitcoin proxy, Coinbase. It's up 1.63. Eli Lilly up 1.40. AMD was up to 106, came all the way back down, and now it's back up. So it's had earnings yesterday, up 1.310, up 1. Oh, it just changed right in front of me, up 1.19. Tesla's up 0.94, Apple's up 0.88, Broadcom up 0.73, Amazon up 0.69, Meta's up 0.48. JP Morgan up 0.47, Berkshire Hathaway up 0.40, GE up 0.23, Google up 0.11, Nvidia is up 0.10, Microsoft pretty much flat, Netflix flat, Boeing flat. Moving on to the sectors, the guts of the market. And let's see. Usually semis is the risk on, risk off sector. Let's just see how we're looking here. So energy is leading the pack this morning, up 0.56, followed by communications. That's your Meta, your Google, and your Netflix. All right, and your Disney. Your Disney's up. So That's not the most heavily weighted communications, but it's in there. All right, you got healthcare up 0.42, financials up 0.41, semis are in the middle of the pack up 0.34. We got discretionary, your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot up 0.29. Basic materials is up 0.25. Staples up 0.18. Technology up 0.10. Industrials up 0.05, and then utilities, which was up pretty nicely yesterday, flat, and real estate flat. Now we're going into FOMC. Typically these days are not the best trading before that, but you do have a decent shot at something in the first hour and change. And then it's me, I usually just take the day off after that. There's not much edge in it for me unless I see something that's begging, but I usually don't partake in the FOMC. Um, we're looking for a pause today, so I don't think anybody's going to be shocked. But of course, in the FOMC statement and then the FOMC press conference when Powell talks, that usually moves markets, what he says. So we'll have to see. Usually the move's set up for the next day. Obviously, I'm not telling anybody if you have an edge on FOMC, take advantage of it. All right. I don't really have one. Now, let's move on to economic calendar here. All right. Let's look at the economic calendar together. Today, of course, I just mentioned it. We have 30-year mortgage already came out. Previous 6.89, actual 6.84. So it went down not that much, right? 10-year yield is being pesky. So we got crude inventories today at 10:30. 2 p.m. Fed rate, FOMC. All right, consensus 4.5, previous 4.5. So we're not expecting anything there. Fed press conference at 2:30 p.m. All right, let's move on to earnings calendar. All right, what do we have yesterday? Super microcomputers reported. AMD, Rivian, Arista, Upstart, Win, Lucid. This morning, Uber reported this morning they are down 3.47%. Disney reported they are up 7.30%. Novo Nordisk reported they are up 4.87%. All right, Vistra Energy. Let's see. Let's see here. I have this on another list here. They are down 3.49%. All right. Barrick Gold reported. All right. Oscar. I own some Oscar. They beat earnings and they are up 17.83%. So I am liking that or loving that. That's nice to hear. Okay. Now, today, AppLovin reports after the close. Carvana, ARM, Semi, right? Cleveland Cliffs, I believe that's. I don't know why that's steel, or is that a cannabis stock? I'm pretty sure it's steel. Give me one sec here. I believe it's steel. Yep, that's what I thought. All right. I don't know why I had a moment there. Sorry about that. Yeah. So Cleveland Cliffs steel. DoorDash after the close. Dutch Bros, the coffee chain. Occidental Petroleum, Warren Buffett's oil there. All right. Tomorrow before the open, Peloton, Shopify, ConocoPhillips, more energy stock. Kronos, Warner Brothers, Crocs. All right. That's our earnings calendar for tomorrow. Now let's get into some news. All right. Let's see what some stocks did on earnings. Walt Disney stock rose 6.2 after the entertainment giant reported fiscal second quarter earnings that beat on the top and bottom lines, boosted by better than expected subscriber growth for its Disney Plus streaming platform, as well as increased spending in its U.S. theme parks. Uber stock fell 3.5 after the ride-hailing service reported weaker than expected quarterly gross bookings and slower gains in its rideshare business. AMD stock rose 1.5 after the chipmaker unveiled upbeat second quarter revenue guidance, driven by many clients racing to lock in purchases prior to the implementation of U.S. tariffs. Marvel stock dropped 7% after the semiconductor it announced it would postpone its investor day, initially scheduled for June 10th. Supermicro Computer stock fell 5.3 after the data center solutions provided reported third quarter earnings that narrowly beat estimates but fell short on revenue. Novo Nordisk stock rose 5.5% after the drug maker cut its sales forecast on Wednesday for the first time since the launch of its Wegovy weight loss drug 4 years ago, but it still anticipated a recovery in the biggest U.S. market. Boeing stock rose 0.38, underperforming the wider market after the Financial Times reported that the European Union intends to propose tariffs on the aircraft manufacturer. TripAdvisor stock rose 2.4 after the online travel company reported first quarter top and bottom lines that beat analysts. All right, moving on to here. Let's see here. Fed likely to leave rates unchanged as it hunts for clarity on the economy. Yeah, we know that. Let's see here. Tesla China made EV sales fall 6% year over year in April as woes deepen. All right. I'm just going to look at here if anything else here. Let's see. Lucid, the car maker, stuck to its 2025 production forecast on Tuesday despite the threat of tariffs, forcing many automakers to pull back targets, while the luxury electric vehicle maker reported first quarter revenue below analysts' expectations. All right. Rivian, the company lowered its deliveries forecast for 2025 on Tuesday as U.S. tariffs on imported vehicles and auto parts threatened to unsettle the economy and hurt demand for its electric SUVs and pickup trucks. I'm just going to see here if there's anything else here. All right, I think we're done here. Let's see if the juice has anything for us today. What does it say? U.S. stock futures rose and the dollar snapped 3 days of declines as China and the U.S. prepared to hold their first confirmed trade talks since Trump unleashed his global tariff war. Let's see if there's any reds here. We do have some reds here. Basent, we will bring back steel, semiconductors, medicines. Basent, we will meet on Saturday and Sunday with the Chinese. This is at 7 o'clock yesterday. China has been missing piece in discussions, has been the missing piece. China reiterates will safeguard its interests. China plans to engage with the United States following global China interest. China's Vice Premier He Lifeng to meet U.S. Treasury Secretary Basent. Okay, bunch of China talk there. All right, I think we're done. I think we're ready for daily charts. Okay. We already know it's a pause. I can show you the Fed Watch tool, but pretty much looking at a pause for FOMC today. All right, let's move on to daily charts here. Let's just get right into it. All right, so we've had a nice run. Now we've had some pullback, right? And where do we pull back to? 50-day moving average, right? 9 EMA daily. Last month's highs have been resistance. So has last week's highs. Okay. We're due for some type of pullback. Now we are seasonally in a bearish month in May. Okay. Does not mean that we can't like push up here and then start to bottom out in May. Who knows? I don't know. Right. But you have 3 down days. Okay. We're also back underneath the anchor view up at 2025. Okay. Yesterday we closed at 558.80. We are at 561. Okay. We closed there and we are here. All right. 561.20. It's pretty much what you would expect. We're almost at the middle of yesterday's range when FOMC. So, I use the most trade, the VPOC of the week, my shorter price of the week, right, when it's rolling. Generally, before an FOMC, before that's done, the market tends to gravitate towards the high volume nodes. And that's what it's doing right now. Both markets, and Nasdaq and the ES, they're both hanging around their most traded price of the week. That's normal. That just shows indecision and people waiting, right? So let's look at the futures. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but I'll show it to you in a second. Okay. Let's look at the futures market. All right. So my price is right here in the middle of yesterday's session in futures. We're basically in the middle of this range. Okay. No surprise there. Bouncing off the 50, bouncing off the 90 EMA. No surprise there. Let's look at the Qs. Like I said, I had that nice trade yesterday. Um, Looks like the secondary trend line was broken yesterday. I'll just get rid of that. All right. And let's look at the cues, right? You just closed right at the 2025 anchored VWAP, right? This is the last month's highs. You closed above it, right? So you could tell right now structurally the SPY is weaker than the Qs. Qs are above last month's highs, okay? Right at the anchor VWAP of 2025. You can see the 200-day moving average very flat, declining 50, right? We're not even touching the 50 in the Qs, right? So where are we at today? We are at 482.80. Puts us pretty much in the middle of yesterday. Okay, let's look at the futures. All right, so you can see we're right. Price is right here. We came all the way up here. We came all the way up here, and we're here. Okay, right in the middle, like I said, in this little range. Right, didn't hit the 90 EMA daily. Didn't hit the 50 yet. Right, so remember I said this congestion would cause a slowdown in the markets. It has. Okay, this resistance level of like the 205.10 area, that would be the next resistance. Okay, and you can see this support has just been a really tough support, right? That 197.50. That's why I got long in the Qs yesterday. Moving on, moving on. Triple headed monster now. Let's look at that bond market, and it's just lollygagging around. It's literally in the middle of this muck, right? In the middle of this muck. I mean, even if you want to do this big wedge, we probably can put this big wedge here. Let's just see. Oop. If you really want to get like this, let's see here. I don't really like that. Forget about that. That's a downtrend, but this would be the uptrend, right? So like if let's say if we went from here, got this wedge going on, right? Not the most beautiful thing to look at, but you're in the middle of this big area. It's just not going anywhere right now, the bond market, until something comes out or something like that, right? I don't know if I flashed this up yet, but that's your bond market. We're going to move over to the dollar. Let's look at that dollar. The dollar has been consolidating as well in this range as well. See? Right? We would just push down, hold, 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 hold. It's waiting for some kind of catalyst, right? Like I said, if I see a sign, I would mind being long a dollar, but we have to see. Okay. Now let's look at the VIX. The VIX. Remember this. The VIX is 30 days out. 30 days out hedging for or whatever you want to call it. All right, we're hanging out in this range. There's last week's range. We're up 28 all the way to 22. We're right pretty much in the middle of last week's range. Okay, right in the middle. So I'm liking this volatility. I like it's a sweet spot in the 20s. My edge is very apparent. Like I said to you earlier, over 30 VIX, my edge gets very dull. The market rips on a dime. But this is a lot better. So hence why I've been trading more lately. It's just my edge is apparent. Okay. Alrighty. That is a triple-headed monster. Now we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, of course, to my to the hourly chart. I had to do that hourly chart in futures, and these levels have been very important of late. Okay. Very important. All right. Big levels to talk about. This is your hourly chart here. You can see the relative volume down here. All right, so we're getting a spike. So this shows me every 15-minute candle compared to the last 20 days. So in the last 15 minutes, the NASDAQ has gotten a big volume spike here, but it's showing me the overall 84% of relative volume over the last 20 days, 69%. Now, we did have a really big volume a couple weeks ago, so that's why it's showing that, okay? So now that we're looking at this chart, right? I had to adjust this channel, okay? And you can see the top of the channel is more consistent with resistance, right? And what did we do, right? This anchored VWAP's on the all-time highs. It's flat, okay? All right, that's a flat. Now we do have that 57.17, the most traded price of the rolling year. That has been resistance. Big spike here, you see, the high volume node, right? And then we have this channel. And what did I say earlier? I said most traded prices of the week tend to be the magnet before big news. Now this is where price is. That's the most traded price of the week. Happens to be the most traded price of yesterday. That's where price is. Okay? That's why they are magnets, right? If the most people agree upon this price, that's what that means. It's the fairest price right now. That's where price goes before it makes a decision. All right? So I took this anchored VWAP off here and I just slapped one right here on the lows of yesterday, or this swing low basically, and you can see the market is hitting this anchored VWAP. Let's see what happens, right? We are at the bottom of this channel, so we could definitely go like this and come and start to go back, and this is the bull bear line to the upside for the market. If the market can find acceptance above this 57.17 level, we can push higher. If it goes up here and fails again, well, it can spell doom for the markets. This is the most traded price of the month here, 55.50. Okay, because what does the market do? You can see these levels, right? The market, all it ever does is consolidates bases in range, or excess and balance, whatever you want to call it, right? So this is the most traded price of the month. And what did we do? You base out there and boom, you trend higher. You base out, boom, you trend higher, you base, you trend, you base, you trend, you base, trend, base. That's all every market ever does. Okay? So that's why when you consolidate, they become magnets. Okay? They become magnets. All right? So moving on to the NASDAQ hourly chart. Let's go to that one. Okay? And the important levels on here is your anchored VWAP in futures for the year. Beginning of the year, anchored VWAP was resistance at this high. And we have our channel, right? Resistance, 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 right? The top of this channel. Where's price? At the most traded price of the week. Notice the same setup, right? This 195 level is the most traded price of the month. So if you break this, you're going to probably revisit here. If you go up, fail again at the anchored VWAP, we possibly could see us move back down. All right. So let's just see. We're at the top. We're at the bottom of this channel here. So remember, you gotta get a couple closes below this to really. Now this channel is something. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. You know, the more touches, the better. So you really need to close, really, to see a trend break here. But if it holds, this could be a move up. Well, we have to see. I don't predict. You know, I'm always the if-then guy, the scenario guy. So I don't sit here and try to tell you I know what's going to happen, because I don't. Nobody knows. If they do tell you they know, then they're just a snake oil salesman. That's all that is. All right. Now we're going to move over to the market profile, volume profile analysis. All right, and we'll do that. While I switch over, give me a sec. We'll recap yesterday. All right, so we got a market profile, volume profile here. And we're just going to analyze, you know, like I said, analyze using most traded prices, you know, in market profile. Market profile, all it is 30-minute bars. All right, I'll split them out for you. I forgot to do that, I think, yesterday. So let's move this up, right? And let's just look at what I look at, right? It's pretty simple. Here's the rolling weekly profile. A lot of distribution. This just shows the volatility. A lot of distributions, right? That's a lot of distributions. All right, that is an ugly looking profile, and that just shows you how this market has been. Generally, you don't see that many distributions like that. You usually see something very smooth like this. Okay, that just shows you how much time we spent at this price, at this price, at this price, and it's just all over the place. Okay, but what I do know is this in the real-time trading hours is the most traded price. This 56.44, let's call it. That's where price is now, right there. That's why these levels are important, right? It also happened to be the most traded price of yesterday. So market gravitates towards it like a magnet. Okay, and it's generally not a place you want to enter a trade because it's 50-50. It could go like this or like this. It will move like that today. It's just a matter of, you know, when, and then it's like a gamble to me because you get chopped up and it will make a move. Okay, it will. All right, let's recap yesterday real quick. Okay, let's look at the session here. There it is. All right, so we opened, right? And that was the big level. Remember, I had it, but this I moved this, but this was all the way over here. Okay, so this area, like I said yesterday, was very important support. Okay, the ES never made it quite down to the bottom here. Okay, so it pushed, tried again, and then ripped. Right, and it's just a matter of like I said yesterday, pre-market. I got long on the Qs just because the Qs, is mainly tech, and tech wasn't that weak, so I got long in Qs. But SPY, ES ripped, and the only reason, obviously, that this works, obviously, is because if you think about it, you got shorts getting paid, more shorts getting paid overnight, 100% net short. Now you come to this level. What do you think people are going to do if they're short? They're going to turn into buyers, and then new longs join them. And so then everybody takes profits and then it rips. Right? That's why it works. So for me, when you're at a key level like this, it's just worth the risk because you're going to get paid. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Right? But it's worth the risk. And what my thought was too, what's today? FOMC. So you don't want to be short like this going into an FOMC, right? You don't want to be holding the bag. So that's another reason why I felt like it's worth the risk. We should de-risk before FOMC. Okay. So that's what we did. We pushed up. There was some kind of news that happened that pushed this, made this move down. Then you push down. Then so that's just, it became a very back and forth. That's why I was done. I was done by like 10 something, 10:30, 10:15 or something like that. I didn't trade again. There was no point to trade again. All right. And yesterday you can see very balanced profile. Very balanced. Okay. So whenever you get that balanced profile, you're most likely going to be range bound. All right. Then there was some other news with the China, I believe, talking, which caused the market in the overnight to spike all the way up to here. Right. And price is here. So we have a big range. It's actually a engulfing range of the RTH session yesterday. Okay. So levels are pretty much the same. Okay. You have a little bit of a single print here, but we're at the most traded price of the. So this is called an inside out trade. Now I don't like these because it's gamble. All right, but like I said, you're at the most traded price. We will test up there or here today. You're gonna get this, and then I want to make a decision. If you're in here, you're not gonna know which way it's gonna go. It will go one way, and somebody will be right, and someone will be wrong. Okay, I like the probabilities more in my favor. Okay, so like I said, there might be some decent trade in maybe the first hour. After that, I'm probably done for the day if I don't see something that's like screaming at me. All right. So basically, this is going to be this. You have a supply zone, overnight highs. You got this supply zone. Okay. Where we have that big support level, 5600 again, right? This big level, big support all the way back here. Remember, that is the bulls defense for the short term to keep this market up here. Okay. Need to defend it, right? And remember, the ultimate bull bear line is that 55.50 here, the most traded price of the last month. Okay, that's a wall, and bulls need to defend it. Okay, below that, probably May, sell in May and go away is probably going to happen. Above it, maybe we shuck that seasonality. All right, let's go into scenarios here. It's pretty simple for me today. Okay, remember the inside out, like I talked about. Okay, so you're in the middle of balance. All right, you're in the middle of the most traded price of the week. Horrible trade location for my trading style. So I know we're going to test one of these areas. And then it's just a matter of, are we weak? Are we strong? Am I interested? All right. So as far as the bull side, if we start to test, move away, which I know we will, come into this area, test the 5600, and you bounce, right? Which, remember, it's still FOMC today. I don't think someone's going to want to hold the bag in front of it. So people will probably be like, you know what, I'm going to take profits. I don't want to hold it on for FOMC. We probably go back to the mean or even up to here, right? And test the overnight highs. And I would think we'd probably roll back over again. Honestly, that's probably all I'm interested in. Okay? Very simple. All right, so then we talk about the bear side. All right? Price is here. Remember I said it's going to test one place. If it goes up into this supply, it could fail, come right through, and then maybe we test here and bounce up for FOMC. We could also come up to all the way up to this supply. Try to make a move, fail, go right back to the mean for FOMC. That's how simple it is for me today. There's not much I need to see something clear. Otherwise, it's going to be like garbage. Okay? So that's what I'm looking for on the ES. Okay? It's probably not going to be much structurally different in the Qs. Let's look at the Qs. Okay, you can see the Qs actually has a little bit of a nicer looking profile to it. And in the Qs, okay, let's just recap because in NASDAQ, okay, this is NASDAQ, but it's the Qs in stock ETF. So this is what I did yesterday in my trade, right in here. Boop. And then you just ripped up. Boop. And I took it off in here I took my like if this was the Qs, I believe I took off mine up in here from here. And I was like, you know what? I mean, obviously I would have ripped up even more. That would have been like a big monster trade. But I was happy with the 2.5 to 1 risk to reward, right? So that's what the Qs did. Okay. So look at the profile. It's a little more smoothed out, but we're in balance. We're waiting for big news, of course. Price is here. Most traded price of the week is 199. Right? 199. Very balanced profile, like I said yesterday. Okay. So what it comes down to is this level is why I got long. Look at, I talked about this yesterday, the 197.50, right? There it is. We could not break it yesterday. Could not break it. You broke it a little tiny bit right there. And that was all she wrote. Right? That was all she wrote. Now, you have supply right up in here with the overnight highs hitting it. Okay, that's the playground. That is your playground. Okay, now you got very thin volume down here. All right, very thin. Most traded price here of the overnight. But like I said, we are going to go up, down, and test these areas. And that's all what it's about today, right? Like I said, I'm keeping it super simple for the morning because I don't really love after the first hour on these days. I just don't like it. It's just not, people. I know I had a mentor that would literally, this is his vacation days. He would go out. He would ride his bike. He would just leave. He was like, I don't have an edge on these days, so I just take the day off. And whatever the FOMC statement or press conference says, he's like, the better move is the next day after the market digests it, which I can't really argue with that much. Okay. Now, let's get into scenarios here with the Qs. Be very simple, just like before. We will start with the bull scenario. All right, like I said, right at the most traded price of the week, what are we going to do? If we push down, now there is demand here. Not like I actually like the ES setup better, so that might be a SPY ES setup better, SPX. So you have a demand here at the overnight lows. Now that could hold, and we can push up into here. Okay. Now the other way, we push a little lower, break that overnight lows, and test this 197.50 again. If this holds, you're going to go back to the mean. Or you go up, come back to the mean. That's it. Okay. On the bear side. Okay. On the bear side. If we do, so say hold this, push up, most traded price here, you're going to get some shorts covering, and then you're going to get back into the supply. If you fail, lower high, then you're going to come back into here, this level. And you either chop here, you go down a little lower, and then bounce. That's what I'm looking for today. And like I said, I keep it simple because I'm not in love with it, like the trading today. I do every morning. There is something. There is something in the first hour, but it might not just set up right for me, right? I might be able to read it, but not have a clear setup to trade it. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. All right. So hopefully you liked that analysis, and please smash that like button if you did. As always, hopefully you can join me every morning. I give you the market news, the story of the markets, the leaders, the laggards, the economic calendar. Gave you the earnings calendar. We went over the daily charts already. We did the triple-headed monster, and I just gave you the Nasdaq and the ES futures analysis with the long and short trade scenarios that I'm looking for. Okay, so hopefully that plan works out. If not, I probably take an early day today. All right. And obviously, I'll be paying attention, but won't be trading most likely the FOMC statement and the FOMC press conference. I'll let everyone else trade that. Um, to me, it's a coin flip for me, so it's really not. I'm not really interested in that. So everybody, I hope you have a great day. Now, of course, still have my Discord. I still put out what I see in the mornings. If you feel free to join my Discord, go to my YouTube homepage and join there. Okay, and join there. All right. And if you're not in there, I will see everybody tomorrow after this all blows over. All right. So everybody have a great day. Remember, no trades to trade. Stay green. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.